Hi, welcome. Tonight we've got Anthony Williams, head baseball coach, Frostburg State University in Maryland. What's happening with the Bobcats over there?
And we're enjoying a little bit of a summer break. Got some guys out playing summer ball. Got the staff on the recruiting trail. Kind of like a lot of teams right now, probably in that overlap of recruiting our 22 class, but also looking at the transfer market because it's just gotten out of hand. And we're looking at ways that we can add to our roster. And like I said, we're honing in on kind of probably getting close to making some offers in our 22 class and getting that rolling.
So talk to me a little bit about the background of the program there at Frostburg State. It's got a pretty good history.
Yeah, it sure does. And, we were NAIA back in the day in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I guess, and then transitioned to Division III for a long time before now going to Division II. 2020 was our first year at Division II. And really at every step along the way, the program has had success. A lot is attributed to they had a legendary coach, Bob Wells, who ran the program really from the late 60s, I believe, all the way up into the early 90s. So a lot of that success and the cohesion of the program itself stemmed from just the stability, at the top there with Coach Wells. And a lot of the alums are still very connected to the program. They come back every homecoming, every year. They're actually coming back here in a couple of weeks to do a little alumni event, Coach Wells included. So look forward to seeing all those guys, get to hear about how great they were in the 70s and 80s and so on. But even in the 90s and 2000s, they had a lot of success at the Division III level. And then fast forward into the, 2015 was the year they kind of really broke through and on a national stage and got to the College World Series as a Division III program. So this is my second stint at Frostburg. So I know the history of the program pretty well. My first 2 years right out of college were as a grad assistant at Frostburg. So had a chance to experience a lot of that early on in my career. And just, like I said, with getting a feel for the alumni and the passion and just dedication to Frostburg baseball, it's really unmatched. Their roots run really deep, and just happy to be able to come back and lead this program at the Division II level. And hopefully we have, continued success.
Sure. So your coaching background, man, you've done a little bit of everything, man. You've been at the pro level, you've been at multiple levels. Walk me through your coaching tree a little bit, and maybe talk about some of the coaches you've worked under and been a part of programs with.
Yeah, I jammed a lot of experience into like a 9 or 10 year period. So, for a lot of the young guys getting their start right now, don't be afraid to take chances and make bold moves and go places. But, as I mentioned, I went right from college, right into a graduate assistant position at Frostburg for 2 years. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go at the Division I level back home, kind of where I was from in Baltimore. And I worked at UMBC. I was a volunteer assistant there, did, infield base running, work with the hitters, coach first base, and then had the opportunity to get going with what I thought at the time I really wanted to do, which is to work in professional baseball. I had the unique opportunity to move to Pittsburgh and work for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the big leagues. And I was kind of just thrust into that role really late. It was like opening day, right before opening day, the 2011 season. And, it just kind of worked out where I was able to get up there quickly. And I was learning a new job. I was doing video and advanced scouting for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And, I'd always wanted to get into pro ball, but I think as a college student and even going through grad school, I wanted to work in pro ball, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what even, the types of jobs that were available, scouting, obviously you knew that, but baseball operations was such a broad term to me. Everyone throws that out there, but I really didn't know what that meant. So this was a great opportunity for me to get into, the video, the scouting, the preparation, and just really for me, the biggest amount of growth I had there in my 5 years in Pittsburgh was just learning how to prepare, being around guys at the highest level and just watching how they go about their business, being able to pick the brains of coaches and working under Clint Hurdle, and having an opportunity to interact with him on a daily basis, and not to mention some of the great players that came through. Those years were pretty successful, 13, 14, and 15. We were a playoff team, and it was a lot of fun. I think after my first year with the Pirates, or second year at the Pirates, I had the opportunity to take on a Division III program as a head coach. Now the Pirates gig was great and I really enjoyed it, but it was a job that probably paid you, March through the end of the season. So it wasn't something that you're getting rich or anything like that. And one thing I did learn in Pittsburgh, being off the field essentially and being in behind the scenes guy, is that I really missed being on the field. I really missed, throwing BP, hitting fungos, coaching guys up, and just that passion for recruiting that I had. So, I had the opportunity to take on a D3 school as the head guy, University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg, and it was kind of local. So I was able to do both. My first head coaching job, I think I was 26. And then I was still working with the Pirates, and I was doing both, kind of traveling back and forth, burning the candle at both ends for a few years. But I learned a lot. I was able to take a lot of what I was being around, with Pittsburgh every day, and some of the lessons I was learning there, and really apply them at Pitt Greensburg. And we had a lot of success in a short 5-year period. And then, eventually, like I said, burning the candle at both ends for so long, you got to kind of make a different move. And had a chance to go in the PSAC back where I went to school, or same conference that I played in, and had a chance to go to Clarion and help a struggling program there, and did that for 3 seasons. And in 2019, we had some success and started to get things moving there. And then the job at Frostburg came open, and they announced they were going Division II. The guy that had hired me 10 years previously, when I first got into this, was taking on a new role in the athletic department as the associate AD. So he actually hired me again for the second time, but this time to take his job. So, and it was just a perfect fit. And it's back home in Maryland, where I'm originally from, Western Maryland. So we're in the mountains here, but it's home to me, and it's where I want to be. And I thoroughly enjoy being at Frostburg. And, like I said, looking forward to getting this program moving into Division II level.
So you mentioned you guys are already out doing some summer recruiting here. What are some of the must-see events for you guys? Where do you guys have some success, or where do you hope to have some success? Where are we going to see Frostburg at?
We're at a lot of places. Honestly, it kind of a lot of times we're not just kind of going to events just to see who we see. We try to identify guys that we early on in the winter and spring months that we want to see, and then maybe we didn't get a chance to see in high school, and we kind of target where they're going to be, and that kind of dictates what we do in recruiting. Sometimes it's a little bit more intentional. But if we're going to go out to an event that's just kind of maybe more blind in what we're doing, I would say the Big 26 is an event for Maryland and Pennsylvania kids that I really enjoy going to. It's kind of a great venue there in Harrisburg at the Senators ballpark there. And we've recruited some guys out of that. I think we have 3 guys on our team now out of that event alone. So I really circle that one on my calendar every year. And then I guess this is a plug for another program, but the St. Joe's team camps in Philly, I usually hit those a couple times every summer. It's a great atmosphere, and there's a lot of great travel teams that come through those tournaments, those camps, I should say. They're team camps, usually 8 to 10 teams on a weekend that we get to see. So if we get to see 8 to 10, really good travel teams on a weekend, that's money well spent for us on the recruiting side of things. So those are a couple of them. Let's see if I had any others written down here. We're up at Diamond Nation. Like I said, that's more on like a as needed basis, but Super 17 is an event up there we get to. But I will say, I try to get out to some high school games this spring. I really enjoy going to high school games. I know that it seems like you see less and less college coaches at high school games. And I get it, we're all playing at the same time, but I really do enjoy, trying to go out and see our commits, but I also try to get out and get a head start on guys we want to see in the summer, because as everyone's kind of aware of now, we don't have the budget to go down to Georgia and go, watch games for a week, or, Alabama or some of these tournaments that are really far away. They're guys that want to go to school in our region, but they're playing in tournaments that are really kind of far away. And I know, it's kind of getting off topic a little bit, but So that makes it difficult.
We'll talk a little bit about that, because a lot of times I'll get asked, parents will ask me, "Hey, what travel team should I play for?" And one of the first things I ask them back is, well, where are your target schools? Where are the team is the
Right.
team you're going to play for? Are they playing in that area, or like you're saying, are they going to California and that's not where you want to go to school? So talk a little bit about that regional recruiting range.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say Coach Sheehan in Millersville kind of hit the nail on the head the other day. Put a post out about this topic that all of us have been thinking about. He just said it better than I probably could have, but it's been on our minds. Like, some of these kids, the only chance I'll get to see them play this summer was at the end of their high school season when they were playing for their high school team, because all their events, or the majority of their events, are just not in a drivable range for us, or in a range that we can get to. So it's definitely an issue for us. And I think that's why we try to target guys early in their junior year. And, whether that's winter workouts we see them at, or the previous summer, making a note on some of those, rising juniors. And then you just try to get out and make some time in the high school season to see them play. And I really do enjoy it. I wish I had more time to see high school baseball, because you don't get that sort of environment in the travel ball circuit. You don't get to see the kids under pressure. You don't get to see them playing with, the opposing side heckling them and the fans and then whatever else. So I just enjoy that, because I think it's a little bit more representative of how college baseball is. So I think it's great. Summer ball, kids are relaxed, and they can go out and play and be comfortable and do their thing. But on the flip side, sometimes they're playing at 8 a.m. And I know if I'm going to see a pitcher who's starting at the 8 a.m. game and he's got to warm up at 7 a.m. or get to the field at 6 o'clock or 6:30 a.m., he may not be, as good as he might be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's a lot of that happens too.
So talk to me a little bit about, you got a player, maybe a freshman, sophomore, they've got Frostburg on their list. What are some specific things they should be doing if they want to get recruited there at Frostburg?
You said freshmen and sophomores?
Yeah, freshman, sophomore range.
Yeah, I mean, for us at the D2 level, it's really just so far off the radar right now. I think that they can do themselves a service by, going and getting some metrics at different places and getting some video done, whether it's on their own, just so that, hey, if we do get a kid that reaches out to us, we have something we can look at. And maybe we look at video. It's obviously not a guy we're probably going to make a separate recruiting trip to go see right then and there. So we maybe make some notes and earmark some guys based off the video that we've seen, or maybe some metrics to hit the criteria that we're looking for. Or we like, the body frame, body type, whatever on top of that, and just kind of do some legwork and homework. But it's really kind of a circling guys, stashing them for later. We're really not making too many moves. Obviously, there's NCAA rules that affect that too. So, but I like to think that those sophomore class, like for right now, the 2023 class, it's going to be rising juniors. Those guys, we have a list going now. We're collecting information. We're collecting profiles. The 2024 guys, I mean, just not even really a thought, to be honest with you, for us. Everybody at different levels, 1, 2, and 3, work on a different timeline. But for us at the D2 level, or at least, for Frostburg, we're really honed in on making offers to 22s. And then since June 15th rolled around, we can now talk to 23s and start to identify some of those guys, maybe get them to campus later in the fall to a prospect camp or something like that, that we really like and can keep some eyes on those. But that's kind of that's I don't have great advice for freshmen right now, other than hone in on your skills, try to get as strong as you can, and really get out somewhere where you can get some video done and some metrics, maybe at a showcase that, so we can start to track some growth over your high school career.
What's kind of the earliest time frame that you guys have made offers, and then what's normally that sweet spot for you guys?
Earliest would be probably verbal, offers in the junior year, springtime, for us. I mean, we're not getting we're not getting usually fall commits from juniors, usually spring and summer of their junior year going into their senior year for us. Yeah, that's kind of the timeline we work with. And, we just, every year is a little bit different. Like this year in particular in 22, we're probably going to be a little bit more selective, meaning we're going to have a smaller class. So we may be waiting a little bit longer just to make sure we get, the right guys. And, if it was a bigger class, then maybe we try to go get a couple guys early and build the class, throughout the summer. But I would say the typical time of year is the summer, June and July, and August. And then you really want to have things wrapped up. For us, we'd like to be wrapped up by October, just, so signing day comes around and hopefully there's no surprises in November.
So tell me about, so I'm a kid, signing day is come and gone. What advice do you have for them, or what kind of activity have you had in the past for, maybe guys moving into their senior winter and into their senior, actually playing for high school baseball in the spring?
Yeah, I think we're well aware that not everybody's on the same timeline, and there's really good seniors still out there in after signing day, and signing day, doesn't mean we're done recruiting. It just means that's where we're at right now. So I definitely would encourage guys, reach out and say, hey, are you full? Are you still looking? I was a little late getting videos done or getting seen or getting to campuses, and that definitely happens. We added. Probably every year we'll add after signing day for sure. It may just be one guy, maybe 4 or 5. So I definitely would encourage, if you're looking at a school and you just were late to the party and didn't really, and maybe you played another sport and you weren't able to get to some of these things, or prospect camps that are held in the fall and you play football, whatever. You try to do a little bit of legwork on the front end, and contact coaches. And we've had kids do that, is, hey, coach, I'm not playing fall baseball right now because I'm playing high school football. I'm very interested. Are you still going to be, looking to add after signing day? And just having those kind of conversations and communication with the coaches. But, they can do themselves a favor by, again, getting in the weight room and trying to get as strong as possible in the wintertime, and setting themselves up so that if a school is recruiting in the spring and getting out to see high school games and still looking to add a late senior, that you haven't just kind of washed away your senior off season, that you've done something and got yourself ready. And especially if you're a pitcher, there's guys that bloom late, and there's all schools, no matter what they tell you, they're always looking to add arms. So, if you're a late bloomer and you didn't get seen in the fall or signed in the fall, and you come out there and maybe you were 82, 84 in last summer, and now you're in the spring season, you're 86, bumping some 87s, 88s, and all of a sudden you might have some more people interested.
Sure. So talk to parents and players a little bit about the difficulty of putting a roster together with 9 scholarships, and maybe talk a little bit about fully funded versus not being fully funded at different places.
Well, I wish I had the problem of trying to put a roster together with 9 scholarships. So if we were fully funded, then we'd be having a different conversation probably. But we're not fully funded at the Division II level, and I have not worked at a school that has been fully funded. Just to put in perspective, I think this is my 3rd scholarship school that I've worked at as a coach, and 3rd, and none of those schools were fully funded, and that includes.
I don't think parents quite understand the dilemma. Even if you had 9, but then if you're not fully funded, right, what? Because everybody, hey man, let's throw out some scholarship dollars.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but at the Division II level, for a lot of programs, and it's not all, it may not even be most, but at least with our program, you got to view it as like stipend scholarships. Like they're ways to cut down costs. You're not going to be going to school for free. We're a state school, and we're fortunate in that regard because our tuition is not expensive. But still, room and board at a lot of places now is as expensive as tuition. So if we can give a kid a room waiver or a meal plan or a partial scholarship to offset some costs, that's exactly what it is. It's a stipend to offset some costs. And show a commitment, obviously, that we want this player. And But I mean, you have to have the understanding of, no one on our team is on a full scholarship. And then I wish we had it to give. But when you're talking about partially funded programs, it's super important that if you're one of those types of guys that you're able to get some academic money by doing the job in the classroom, setting yourself up, and that way. I mean, for us, I mean, especially if we're looking out of state, because there's a different cost for in-state and out-of-state at most state schools or public universities. It's imperative that those out-of-state kids have good grades to get themselves more academic money, because like I said, it's the baseball is only going to go so far, the baseball money.
So when does obviously academics super important to be able to put that package together and make it affordable for parents. When does that come up in your discussion with the kid about grades and test scores?
Usually we have the discussion on a phone call prior to setting up a visit. When we have a visit, we want them to either have sent us a transcript or bring one with them on the visit, so that we have an idea. Now, if we have it ahead of time and we know, hey, we're planning to make an offer on the visit, because we have to have a transcript in order to do that, then we can plan ahead, identify what they're going to qualify for academically from a academic scholarship standpoint, and then we can put together our best package that includes baseball money as well. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, if they can, the sooner they can get us a transcript. Like, I think most kids right now, high schools went a little long this year, so I think some kids, I know we had a kid up yesterday that is getting his final transcript for the year next week. So some kids haven't even got updated transcripts that reflect their whole junior year yet. Sometimes it's guesswork, Marty. We're going off partial transcripts and guys that haven't got final grades and stuff, or guys that previously didn't have SAT scores yet, and but they want to make a decision. And when that happens, sometimes we gotta do the best we can to kind of give a ballpark estimate on where they might fall in a range of academic money, and do the best we can to adjust from there.
What kind of roster do you carry? How many guys? What's your target? And then can you give a ballpark about how many of those guys are POs?
So we're typically a 35-man roster. I would say this year, just with a couple guys that have that COVID extra year and that we are anticipating graduating that are coming back, we're probably going to be like 38, maybe even 39 this year. And then of that, the POs, I would say we're probably 17, 18 guys on the team are POs. I would say we definitely would be north of 15 as POs. And hey, look at it this way: you got 50 games in a Division II schedule. We have 4 conference games every weekend, a midweek game, sometimes a midweek doubleheader. So say at max, you're looking at 6 starters per week. And you may use 8 to 10 guys on a weekend that are conference type guys. You may use another 4 or 5 guys in a midweek game. And then maybe you have a couple guys that are developmental. They might redshirt. They may just not be ready yet, or they may be situational guys. So I think that as a parent, you may hear, well, they're going to carry 15, 16, 17 pitchers. Well, it's a little bit different, and certainly the dynamic of the schedule is a lot different than high school, where it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the guy that threw Monday is coming back on Friday. And, that's not really how college baseball works. So for us, I mean,
to have rehabbing or something as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have a minor league to pull from when we call guys up when guys get hurt. So, and certainly we had our fair share of injuries this year. And, now all of a sudden that, you might have 15, 16, 17 guys, and, a couple guys get hurt. Maybe a guy, hopefully nobody is ineligible. We didn't have any casualties from that regard, but injuries, maybe an eligible guy or a guy just not ready. Now that 15, 16 could be 12, 13. Now all of a sudden you might be short. So
yeah, for sure.
It can dwindle quick.
Yeah. So talk to me about video in the recruiting process. How are you typically getting video, and has there been like any innovations here during COVID or anything interesting that you've seen trend wise?
Well, last summer, I thought everybody was on board with trying to get as much live stream stuff as possible. And I thought just new age where we're not going to have to be on the road as much. We can sit back and watch some more film and watch some good quality coverage. And then this summer, I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm just watching in the wrong places, but I feel like there's far less. I've been getting far less live streamed games, and a lot more of zoomed out, really far away, hard to see video. So I just encourage you, parents, coaches, whoever, players, if you're going to hand your phone off somebody, just make sure they zoom in. And you're not alone. I mean, I have kids on my team that if their job is, if they're doing the iPad, they still forget to zoom in sometimes, and then we're watching film and it's like, super far away, watching side angles of our hitters. So it happens even at our level too. But I really encourage you to zoom in and get, do the best you can. I know every stadium or ballpark set up a little bit differently, makes it challenging, but video still plays a critical piece. And but yeah, that was my, I guess, analysis of the trends. I thought we were going down this one direction, and it doesn't seem like, I don't know, maybe manpower, cost, I don't know. So
Sure. So when I say a bad video, what can you describe that video that comes to mind? That one that maybe you keep and show other coaches from time to time?
I mean, the one that always comes to the forefront of my mind is like just some of the homemade videos I used to get a little bit, earlier in my coaching career. I remember one in particular. It was like just really bad edited, and the guy was throwing like a bullpen, and then all of a sudden it cut to him at football practice, like kicking field goals or something like that. And then like it cut back to him and he was like trying to pitch in the pouring down rain. And it was just a really, really bad video, but one we definitely kind of, starred and shared with the coaching circle. But yeah, I mean, bad videos right now though, man, it's just like when it's hard to see what's actually happening, and whether it's through a net or just so far away that you can see a pitcher and a guy that's throwing the ball, but that's really all I can tell. Makes it difficult.
So how do you guys use social media in recruiting? I mean, how do you guys use it to promote? And then like which ones do you normally spend a lot of time on? Or is that even part of what you're doing?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that, I think Instagram, you're going to reach more of the current like players. It seems that way, at least. I'm probably the most active on Twitter than any of them. I don't really get on Instagram or Facebook a whole lot. I just use Twitter to kind of keep tabs on events, recruits, share some baseball stuff. I think it's if it's used correctly, it's a great opportunity to share information. Instagram, like I said, we use that basically to kind of give inside looks into the program. We do share, things on there, but give recruits mainly an idea of what's going on inside our program, as best we can. And like I said, Twitter, sometimes I may put something out there, or one of my assistant coaches may put something out there. And sometimes it's a way to just reach our current guys, just putting some messages out there that maybe aren't in our group app or anything like that. But we definitely use Twitter a bunch to be able to identify guys, whether it's like PBR, perfect game, or videos from some of these travel leagues. I think people are doing a pretty good job of posting videos and updates and numbers. And like anything else, there's going to be inflated numbers. I looked at a video the other day of a kid that was at a perfect game event and said he was at 92. And then I looked at the week before, he was at 83. So, you got to sift through it, and yeah, you get some juice guns every once in a while, and you got to be able to just kind of sift through that. But social media is a great place and a terrible place at the same time. So
do you guys in the communication process, is it okay for players to DM you via social media? Is that an acceptable way for them to kind of reach out or try to contact you guys?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any issue with it. I DM guys when I can't get their, find their information. Just speeds up the process, if nothing else. With, sometimes we get so inundated with emails every day, and I'm not saying don't email, because I try to get to them. I know there's probably somebody watching this saying, "Why emailed Coach Williams? I haven't heard back yet." But yeah, we just get so many of them that I get far less DMs. So I don't mind if someone does that.
So walk me through the typical communication process. And I know it's almost like every story is a little bit different, but what's the standard? How does it normally start, and then how does it progress, and then where does it end up?
Between us and the player, or just our process? Which
No,
side
for like between you guys and the player, it starts normally with you guys reaching out through an email or them DMing you, and then moves to phone calls, and then you're calling weekly, or then there's a visit. Kind of walk me through kind of the whatever would be a norm for you guys.
Yeah, I think so. The initial identification part is different for each guy. It could have been on video, it could have been in person, it could have been somewhere else, at an event. So that part could be different. And then from there, it's once we get through that identification part, hey, this is a guy that kind of checks some boxes for us. We want to find out more. So then we may get in touch with the player first. A lot of times sometimes I call the coach first, travel coach or high school coach first, if I can get a little bit of background information ahead of talking to the player. I just like to see what I'm getting into. So then, after we speak with the player, and that initial part may be, it could be a DM, right? It could be a phone call. It could be, we've done Zoom calls as our first point of contact. Sometimes that's by our request, sometimes that's by the family's request, and we're okay with that. So that initial conversation happens differently. I don't know, just no real method to that part. We do like to have the initial call. So whether that's in person, FaceTime, Zoom, or just on the phone, usually reach out to the player, set up a call, explain why we're interested first and foremost, and then kind of talk a little bit about our program, find out what they're looking to do academically, socially, like if a school like Frostburg is something that they may be looking for. They may not know. They may not have visited any schools, and just are kind of really new to the process. So from there, what I typically do is we have a couple YouTube videos that highlight our facilities, highlight our locker room, just kind of show them around our campus, almost like a mini virtual tour. And I just try to give them a little bit of information, background information on our program and what we're looking for. And then from there, we kind of let them digest that information for a little bit, maybe a week, and then we follow up on to see what their interest level is on coming up for a visit. Sometimes after that initial call, the visit we might set it up right away. Sometimes it may take, depending on their schedules, a while to get that visit set up. And then we kind of tier it. It's a little bit different depending on if we think they're a money guy, if we think they're a roster spot guy. They may be a guy that we just haven't seen enough. Maybe we need to get them to camp. So that categorization, if you will, kind of dictates on what that visit is like. Is that visit an offer and try to close, or an offer and give them a timeline? Or is it, hey, we're just showing you around and getting to meet you face to face, and we're going to do some more, legwork, come see a throw, come see a play, and then maybe extend an offer at a later date. So it really is dependent on just the situation with the player and how far along we've been able to get in that process.
So you talked about the visit. What's a visit look like? How long is it taking? Do you do a lot of overnights? Do you do a lot of same days? What does a standard visit look like there?
Yeah, so for an unofficial visit, we're probably around 2 hours. Before the pandemic, we were able to do lunch and sit down and kind of go in all the buildings, and it was probably a little bit longer. And then if we were having them up for a football game, that may be different on some of those, official visits on overnights and stuff. But I honestly, I have no idea. We have no overnight scheduled, and I'm not sure when we may get back to that. If not, so basically right now the visits look like it's basically a 2-hour tour of indoor and outdoor facilities. Spend some time with the coaching staff. When it's during the school year, we usually have some players come around. We usually go to the weight room, meet our strength coach. So we take them around tour. And then if there's a specific area of interest to study that they want to maybe get a chance to meet some professors, then we try to arrange that, or if they'd like to speak with admissions. But I'll be honest, like I may be different than a lot of places, but I pretty much do my own. I do my own tours, and me and my assistant coaches do our tours. I know some places don't do that. You have the volunteers walk them around, or they just send them to admissions and let them do it there, and that's fine too, I suppose. But we do our tours ourselves, and I mean that. I think I've probably been on almost every campus tour for every kid that we have coming in this year and beyond. So I know that a lot of head coaches don't give their own tours these days. So
Do you guys do a junior day or like a group event at any time, and what's the purpose and kind of the format for that?
Well, I mean, just because of everything that happened since I got to Frostburg in 2020, we haven't been able to do that yet, but it is on our radar to do a junior day. And how I envision that lining up this coming year would be to try to get guys out on a Sunday, because we play on Sundays in our conference, and that, I know a lot of high schools don't play on Sundays. So if we can get a bunch of guys up on a Sunday for a doubleheader, watch our guys play, be more or less an opportunity for them to just see the level of competition, get to talk with some guys afterwards, hang out with our guys. So that's kind of how I envision our junior day going, and they have a chance to maybe walk around campus during pregame or BP if they want.
So as parents are looking at the recruiting process at the D2 level, what are some key recruiting rules or dates that they need to be aware of in the process?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I've run into the last couple of years at the D2 level is guys really not having much of a feel for the core GPA requirement for the NCAA Eligibility Center. And I know I've run into that a bunch where, yeah, my GPA is a 2.8, 2.9, I'm good. And then we get their core GPA, we look at their transcript, their core GPA is like a 2.0 or a 2.1. And now you're below what you need to be at. And so I just think paying attention to the eligibility center stuff, if you're a D1 or D2 player, I mean, you have to do it. So, and that core GPA of the 16 core courses, that's all the NCAA cares about. They don't care about your grade in team sports or home ec or anything like that. So taking care of business when it comes to English, math, science, social studies. That's one thing that really jumps out is just the core GPA stuff in the eligibility center. I think that a lot of sophomores see guys committing early verbal commits at the D1 level, and they're like, oh, I got to get on it. I got to get in touch. Well, I know we could go a different way with this conversation, but I won't do that. But we can't talk to them until June 15th before they go into their junior year of high school. So there may be guys that reach out to us as sophomores that, we can have them up to camp and they can come to camp and do some of those things, but I can't take them around campus. I can't call them about recruiting, legally until June 15th. So I think just understanding that, because some parents may see, or players may see, guys committing really early in their sophomore year, and they start pushing the panic button, like, oh, I'm behind. I got to get exposure. I got to get out there. When in reality, if you're a D1 player, maybe that's true. I don't know. But, for us, there's time. So I just, those are a couple of the NCAA calendar and rule type things I see the most, is just understanding when can college coaches talk to me. And, once I am, filling out the eligibility center stuff, I need to stay on top of that core GPA.
So let's walk through like the roster and maybe position by position, and talk a little bit about maybe data or measurables. And the way I always characterize it is, what's the price of admission? What's going to get you to come see me play at those positions? And maybe we start with maybe the corner infielders. What are you looking for at first base and third base? You see in a profile, or you see in a video, some stats. What's catching your attention?
Well, first I'll say, obviously, the corner infield guys get categorized together quite a bit. But for us, they're very separate positions. And I know, like the old school traditional corner guys got to swing it, they got to bash. But for me, I like to have three shortstops in the infield at third, short, and second. And then, my first baseman is going to be not that we don't sacrifice defense because, or that we sacrifice defense because our first baseman now is phenomenal defensively. But, I'm more concerned with making sure that we have, if we can, and then those first basemen, I mean, if you're going to hit the middle of the lineup primarily, I mean, you're going to need to be a guy that's going to be, 90, 95 plus exit velo guy. I don't think that we live and die by exit velo, but it's a metric that we're not willing to sacrifice below that, I guess is the best way to put it. Guys on the left side of the diamond need to be able to throw the baseball 85 plus across the infield. Now I know that there's a lot of, stuff out there, guys crow hopping, running across at events and just chucking it as hard as they possibly can. So we're looking for arm strength. I think we try to put a metric on it, but there's a lot of feel that goes into that too. And then if
you guys can see when guys show up on camp, I mean, you got actual players there, what works, in game situations at that level. So,
yeah. But I think those guys on the corners offensively, I mean, those guys need to be able to hit the ball 95 plus exit velo, need to be able to hit the ball hard consistently. If you just look across really any college landscape at the best players, we watch the Division II College World Series and you try to compare and contrast and look at what the best of the best are doing. And you're not going to see guys on the corner infield spots that are exit velo of 75 to 80 or 80 low 80s. I don't think it's the end all be all. It's just kind of the metric baseline that we look for. We will, we want guys that are strong, that get in the weight room, that can lift, depending on their body type and their weight. We run some things through our strength coach to look at what they can do in the weight room and what their the percentage of their body weight is, and we kind of get his input on that side of things. But the weight room's important, for us, for sure, that they have a little bit of a background in it already. But yeah, like I said, that's where we're at in the corners. And in the middle, I mean, I want guys that can handle the baseball, and they're good around the bag, primarily, those guys that can turn a double play, and I think that position player wise, excluding first base, those guys are all going to be sub 6'8" runners in our infield, usually third base included. Now, as I said, we'll go outside of that criteria if, hey, we got a really phenomenal baseball player. He's a great defender. He's a 95 exit velo guy, but he runs a 7.1. Well, okay, so if we're going to go outside of our criteria, we have some ancillary pieces, some culture pieces, some character pieces that we look at on top of just more or less, for lack of a better term, a gut or feel that we just, hey, we really like this baseball player. He may not check every single box. And for us, there was a guy this year that was probably the biggest knock on him, is he just wasn't a good runner. He's probably going to play a little outfield for us. So that's, getting away from our criteria of a sub 6'8" guy out there. But I just think he's a phenomenal hitter. I think I've seen him do lots of different things that I like offensively, be able to go gap to gap. He's been able to hit left on left. He's been able to use the whole field and hit with 2 strikes and hit for power to both gaps. So I'm willing to extend outside of our criteria to get a guy that I think is a really good baseball player, that hopefully we can, speed him up a little bit, get him stronger when he's here. And then all of a sudden we're happy that we took the chance on that guy. But that's more of a feel gut and just being a baseball coach that, on top of the metrics and all the other things that we get tied up with.
Yeah, because I think I think a lot of kids need to understand, hey, you've got to have a certain level of metric or data to get the coach to come see you play. Then then you start that personal, hey, do they like this kid? What are those other elements that, after they meet that kind of, hey, come see me play level.
Yeah.
What about in the outfield? What are you looking for out there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll get back to the speed thing. I mean, as our offensive philosophy, we want to apply pressure. So, I mean, to do that, we need guys that can run. And for us, I mean, you got to get to second base somehow. So you're either going to hit a bunch of doubles, and maybe you're not going to steal a lot of bags, or you're a guy that's going to be able to get on a lot. And maybe you're not a power guy, but you're going to steal a lot of bags. You're going to, so I will say, the speed is where we look at primarily. 6'8", 88 plus if we're looking at outfield arms. Again, exit velo, same with the infield guys. I mean, all of our players should be able to, exit velo off a T of 90 plus. If we're being honest, I think everybody on our team offensively is probably at that or close to it. And then we go back into the weight room. And then as far as the defensive side of things go and the intangible pieces, so depends if they're a center fielder or a corner guy and what their role might be in our team. Center field guy's got to command it out there. He's got to patrol it. He's got to have confidence. He's got to be able to play near the wall. And, we look for guys that basically what I look for in a center fielder is a guy that can play fast under pressure and play fast, but under control of his body. That body control is a big piece.
What about behind the dish? Of all the positions, I find it the most fascinating to hear guys talk about behind the dish, because, man, a lot of the metrics are all skewed, and it's, everybody's throwing like 1.5s at camps and stuff, and I'm like, Johnny Bench didn't do that. So,
right.
What do you look for? How do you find guys back there?
I mean, what we look for priority wise from a skill set: receive, throw, block, in that order. So there's not a lot of metrics for receiving if you're not having StatCast at your ballpark and tracking, pitch framing and stuff like that. It's a feel thing. So that's what makes it difficult. But for me and for our program, receiving trumps, being a 1.95 showcase thrower. So I just think it's such an important part. It changes at bats. It has such a difference maker for our pitchers, and just changes everything, man. Changes the course of a game by just having a guy back there that can really receive the baseball, keep strikes in the zone, steal a few, and just really help our pitchers out. So,
and the pitchers know the pitchers know those guys. They want those guys back there. They know that guy that takes strikes away or drops balls or is not good at that, and that hurts them. So that,
right.
I think, in talking with other coaches, hey, who does do the pitchers like this guy? Or
yeah, you're always going to ask your pitchers. A lot of times you see who they like throwing to. You want them to be comfortable out there, and there may be a guy that he may not swing it as well, but he receives it really well, and they want that guy. And we're like, well, maybe he's in the lineup, maybe he's not. Depends on what we need to do. But I just think that if we're looking at a priority list for us, I think receiving, throwing, and blocking in that order.
So what about let's talk righties first. What are you looking at? Or what gets you to come to see me throw if I'm a high school pitcher?
Well, I mean, I think that everyone, and I'm not going to say I'm any different, velocity is going to get your attention. I mean, the crafty righty that's 82 may very well be able to pitch and get a lot of outs for us. But it's not the guy that we're jumping out of the chair and getting in the car to go see, right? It's a guy that, if he has a lot of stats to back up what you're saying, then we might get in the car and go see this 82-mile-an-hour righty that's really crafty, that mixes all his pitches, and he's just mowing through his high school team or his high school league or his travel league. You got to really have those stats to back that up. But from a right-handed perspective, velocity, I mean, we're looking for guys that can, probably at least touch 88 miles an hour. It doesn't mean that everybody on our roster is touching 88 miles an hour, but I think if we're going to give scholarship money to a guy, he's going to be capable to be, a mid to upper 80s arm. I mean, very rarely are we giving money to a guy that's, low to mid 82, 84, unless there's really something dynamic and special about that guy. Just because, guys that have velocity and a feel for another pitch, that's going to play at our level, and I think the velocity allows other pitches to play up. Your breaking ball is a little bit better because you got some swing and miss with the fastball. But I'd be remiss if I said, man, we really stress command. And I think, hey, look, we're all wishful thinking. We want that 88 to 90 dude that can command it to both sides, that can spin it, mix in the change. Yeah, I mean, we all want those guys, but I think like by and large, like, we're building this team and, we want to give, scholarship money at the D2 level and scholarship money to a program that is hopefully going to go compete for a regional, then that our right-handed pitchers need to have that ability to run it up there, that high on their high-end velo. And like, again, they may be mid 80s sitting, but they have the capacity coming in the door to get up to that 88 mile an hour, 87, 88 mile an hour mark. And I think that pretty much everybody on our recruiting board right now that's right-handed is in that category.
What about from the left side?
A little bit lower, I think. And the reason I get asked that question, well, why is it lower for left-handers? There's fewer of them, I guess. You see less guys. They're just less left-handers out there. And I don't know, their stuff plays up because the guys, opposing hitters don't see them as much, I guess. So we're probably more mid 80s guys from the left side. We may have a couple guys that can run it up there a little bit better than that. We're a little light on left-handed pitching, so it's definitely on our board, to add. But I'd say mid 80s coming in, depending on the body type. We probably target pitchers that are above 6 foot. Just from a projectability standpoint, just feel like just over time and trends and watching guys, we've seen guys that have that room to grow, or those tall pitchers. I mean, it's no knock on short guys, because I am one. We have a short guy that's 5'9" on our board right now, but he can spin it. He's a bulldog. He's an absolute competitor. So again, we'll go outside of our criteria for someone that's extraordinary in other areas. So I think that's, if you're just talking velocity, when we look at spin too, I think that's another thing that can help us is identifying spin rate and guys, north of 2000, 2200, real low spin guys, we tend to stay away from. Not to say that they can't get outs, just probably not in our criteria, at least looking at.
Sure. What about like unique arm slots? So, I hear college coaches talk a lot. Hey, that guy just looks different. He's a submarine guy, or he comes way across his body, just unique, maybe arm positions or mechanical deliveries.
Yeah.
Does that interest you?
Well, I mean, we're having this conversation about all these criteria, and like, we were just talking on the phone about our lefty coming in, Will Ricketts. He doesn't check half of those boxes, but he's a specialty guy. He's a submarine lefty that gives a very unique look. And I love having I see him as weapons in the bullpen. We try to have those upfront conversations in the recruiting process on how we anticipate or see you filling a role on our team. And that was it with Will. Will's, like I said, he's a submarine lefty. We have a 6'4" submarine righty coming in as well. And hey, there's a role out there for that guy. And I think that I like to match up if I can and mix and match and do different things. And, if we can you need a ground ball late in the game, and we know we got a guy we can rely on and trust back there, and they own their role and they know they want to be, really good at that role. That's exciting for us just to have some weapons to play with. And I do think it's a unique look. So I'm all for trying to find some different angles. I think the Tampa Bay Rays are a good example of that. They had guys that kind of covered all hands on the clock, basically. So I like that. So if we can find a couple guys like that, like I said, know their role and understand that and embrace it, then we'll definitely expand our criteria to look at some of those guys like that, like Will.
When we were talking earlier, you had mentioned the transfer portal. How is that playing for you guys now? How do you see that playing out? I've got some reservations, but what are your thoughts on how the transfer portal is working and how it's impacting you guys and how you guys are going to use it?
Well, my personal opinion is I think like any other bubble, at some point it's going to get so big that it bursts. So what that means and how that goes, I'm not 100% sure, but something will change. And I think the portal, we all anticipated it happening especially with the D1s getting an opportunity to go D1 to D1 and use that one-time transfer exemption and not have to sit out a year. So kind of anticipated that this was going to happen. But I still think by and large, at least for us recruiting regionally, it all boils down to relationships and guys you may have recruited or seen or coaches that you have relationships with. So, I mean, we've got 5 transfers coming in. We have 2 Division I bounce backs. We have 3 junior college kids. So I think in all those cases, they were relationship-based recruiting. It was guys that we knew, relationships we had with other coaches or other players coming into our program that have relationships with guys that were in the transfer portal. I'm not really out there making cold calls and sending out cold emails too much. If we're familiar with the guy, we saw him in the process the year before or a couple years before, and we thought we really like this guy, or we have notes on him still, then maybe we reach out with a blind email or a call if we have the number still. And that has happened, but by and large, I'm not sitting behind my desk going through 3,000 names, probably now closer to 4,000 names, and just blindly emailing kids, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. I don't have the time in the day to do that, to be honest with you.
So if you had to give juniors this summer, we're about 4 months away from signing day, what one piece of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say a couple pieces of advice is you got to spend some time, near the schools that you want to go to or that you think you want to go to, if and that means making yourself accessible more than anything else. Like if you really like this school, but you're down in Georgia for 2 weeks and that you haven't been able to get seen and the rest of your summer schedule is again far away, make an effort to get in touch with them and say, and maybe you're going to go, work out, have at a practice for another team, or your team's going to practice and you're going to throw a bullpen or take BP, and invite coaches to maybe a midweek practice or something if it's within your regional zone. I definitely would encourage guys to do that, high school kids, because that's probably the big number one challenge we're running into right now is just we have the time off because our season's over, but we aren't able to see the guys that we want to see because they're not playing in our area a lot of times. I would make sure that you have an updated profile somewhere that we can find information on you. I'm not saying every kid has to have Twitter, but if you do have social media, especially Twitter, because that's what I probably look at the most, have video pinned to your profile. Have some metrics or some information pinned to your profile. First of all, it lets me know that you're serious about baseball and serious about your recruitment, that I don't pull up your Twitter page and there's 10 different things that have nothing to do with baseball or academics. And so I that's just personal preference. But so I would encourage guys to use social media to your advantage and kind of use it almost as like a resume and show college coaches what you're all about. I know certain guys post videos of themselves lifting or doing different things. And to me, that shows just their commitment to, what they're all about. And I'm not saying every kid is going to be the same way and going to want to put videos of themselves lifting out there. But, I just encourage guys to take advantage of those free resources out there. You don't have to spend $500 at a showcase to get video. You can do it easily on your own. Zoom in again, like I said before, have a feel for your academic background and where you're at. And if you can get a copy of your transcript just to have it, because coaches are going to need it. You might as well work on getting that now. And really at the end of each high school year, you should have an updated transcript that kind of gives you an idea cumulatively where you're at. I'll be honest, I had a conversation recently with a player and high school rising senior and asked him about his GPA, and he had absolutely no idea. So likely that I'd be surprised if the conversation goes any further for us, but I just like the kids are on top of it and they have an idea of where they're at academically. It shows an interest. And I guess the other last thing I'd say is be two things. Be persistent. If you send a college coach an email, it doesn't get back to you right away, don't be afraid. At least I'm speaking for myself, but don't be afraid to send it again or send another one or a follow-up email, because like I said earlier, we get so inundated with them and they just get kind of buried and buried. And I try to stay on top of them each day. But being on the road and different things, not to make excuses, but I don't mind if a kid is persistent. Hey, coach, I know you're busy. I reached out to you, earlier. I just wanted to update you on how my summer's going. I think kids shy away from that because they don't want to pester the coach or they don't want to badger him with all these emails. But sometimes it's the best way is if, oh shoot, that kid did email me last week and I missed it. I was on the road and I just haven't got back to him yet. And he sent me another email. Good. Now it's in the forefront of my mind. Boom, let me get back to this kid right away. But again, I just think that being persistent is okay. It shows a little bit of passion too, that you're serious about it. And, I appreciate guys that do that. And I guess the last thing is just, personally keep playing high school baseball. I had a lot of fun going out to high school games this year. I enjoyed it. Just the atmosphere alone, watching kids in those environments. I know a lot of kids are starting to trend away from high school baseball for different reasons and focusing more on their summer recruiting and getting started with summer ball and travel ball like in the middle of May. But you don't get those 4 years back. Enjoy it and certainly keep playing high school baseball. And I think some of these high schools are doing a great job with video and putting getting video from their high school games out to college coaches. So I think it's great, and I hope that trend continues.
So if I'm a recruit, why Frostburg State?
So it's the right place for the right guy. I mean, we're regional, we recruit regionally, and I think it's an affordable price, a great education. It's a baseball program that has a rich history, rich tradition. We're gonna be as competitive as anybody. We're gonna win. Our goal is to get to the College World Series. But on top of that, our program is founded on one concept, and that's the concept of GEL. GEL. It's grit, energy, and leadership. That's the culture of our program. That's what we're all about. We want those gritty, tough dudes that are positive energy guys that are going to be future leaders of our team and in society someday. So, if winning a lot of baseball games and being competitive and getting a great degree and keeping your costs at a minimum sound like something that you're interested in, then we might be the right place for you.
Anthony Williams, head baseball coach, Frostburg State University, home with the Bobcats. But I appreciate you spending some time with us and educating us.
Thanks, Marty. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.